Hi, I'm Underbelly, and you suck at producing. Today, I released a song called The Algorithm, which is the first single off my new album, Machine Yearning. Sounds like this. Wowzers! You can check out the full song on my Spotify by clicking the link in the video description. And if you're feeling generous, you can help support Uncle Joe's drinking habit by pre-ordering the album on my Bandcamp. In today's lesson, we're going to be breaking down the song from start to finish, and I'll be showing you some of my favorite instrument racks and sound design techniques along the way. Now, I'll be linking all the third-party plugins I'm using in the video description and trying to offer free alternatives when I can, for those of us less fortunate, like Derek. Let's get started. Okay, so check it. So here I have the mixdown project for the song. Let's take a listen. Oh, wowzers. Okay, so I really love that Wumpus wumping away. Let's go ahead and open up the bass subfolder and take a look-see here. Okay, so it looks like there it is. I'm gonna solo it out. Wowzers, I really wanna figure out how the heck I made this Wumpus. Now, here's the small issue. You can see that I've bounced everything out to audio here, which makes for a super clean mixdown session. It's much easier on my small computer brain to understand if this is all audio, and plus, it forces me to commit to the track as is, sort of like what Uncle Joe didn't do for his last 3 marriages. Now, speaking of Uncle Joe, I have an unfortunate bit of news. Turns out he died last night. Looks like, I guess he choked on one of his buffalo chili cheese fries while I was working on the track. And, I woke up this morning and turns out all my project files are haunted with the ghost of Uncle Joe. So I'm a little scared to do this, but I guess let's take a listen. Okay, here goes. Oh boy. Oh, well, looks like it's just an annoying click sound. Huh. Okay, well, it's actually a lot less annoying than when he was alive, so I think this is a step in the right direction. Maybe we can actually use the ghost of Uncle Joe later on in this track. For now, I want to inspect this Wumpus here. So like I said, I've bounced everything out to audio, makes mixing super easy, but very hard to see how the heck I made any of these sounds. So let's go ahead and open up the content browser here. And you can see I have every single project file in the album organized. So let's go ahead and open up the production sessions, check out the algorithm, check out the pre-mix ALS file before I've bounced everything out to audio. And all I have to do is just drag the original track over from my browser here into the session. So you can actually drag entire tracks and clips from one project file to the next in this manner. So here it comes. Okay, let's take a listen. Okay, so that's a nice Wumpus going on there. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off all these extra effects. You guys can see the original sound here. And wowzers, so look, it looks like I'm working with the Mini Moog original emulator by Arturia. Sounds like this. Now, here's the sitch. You probably are already cursing yourself off. God damn it, Underbelly, now I have to spend all my Neopets coins on this dinosaur of a synth to get this sound. Now, hold your horses. You can actually make this sound with any basic synth. All I'm working with here is just a square wave tune super low, another square wave tune an octave and a fifth up, and finally a sawtooth wave tuned up an octave. And together they sound like this. Now, the real key of the sound is this low pass filter wumping away. And you can see I have it mapped to a macro here over on the left side. And if I check out the automation view, I'm just automating the filter to open up ever so slightly for some of these Wumpuses here to create a little bit more movement in the sound. Now, it's a great sound and all, but I want it to have a little bit more girth, some width. So I'm using the Valhalla Shimmer on the chorus preset to widen up the sound. If I turn the mix to 100%, you guys can really hear it. Oh, wow, there's too much. I want to preserve that mid-range Wumpus. So let's put down the mix down to say 30% and we're good to go. Now, if you don't have the Valhalla Shimmer, another great option is the Convolution Reverb. It's free if you have Live Suite, but since I paid $60 for this damn thing, I'm gonna use this reverb as much as possible. So I actually have it again here, this time set to the concert hall setting, and I actually have it split up into 2 chains here. So the bottom chain is just the dry signal, as we heard earlier. The top chain, however, is just the pure reverb sound. You might notice I have the top chain's volume control automated, so I can actually control when this reverb activates. So let's go ahead and unsolo this. You can actually see I'm automating it so that the reverb is only active in the spaces between the notes. So to just bring out that effect, I've added an OTT to squash the shit out of this. Okay, beautiful. I've also been using the tape audio effect rack made by my man Elephant. We'll be linking that in the video description below. Some nice sidechain compression, and finally, just to round things off, just using an EQ to tame some of these dying whale frequencies in the bass. God damn it. And wowzers, that's basically it. After that, I just bounced it out to audio, and if we go ahead and look at the audio track here, it's the exact same thing. Just use the Pro L2 to kind of limit the dynamic range here. Also, just a little bit of multiband compression, just to brighten the sounds, tighten it up a little bit like spandex. Sidechain compressor and some EQ to tame the low end, and that's about it for this Wumpus. Wowzers. Okay. Let's keep it going a little bit here. I'm gonna open up these synths, the folder, and check out what we have going on here. So it looks like I have this, crazy ass glitch lead going on. Let's just inspect this. Let's see what's happening over here starting at 17. Oh, wowzers. Okay, it looks like the glitch lead is just going crazy all over the place. Let's see how the heck I made this shit. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up once again my content browser and drag in the glitch lead. Okay, here we go. So once again, I'm gonna solo this out and take off all these effects. Here's a quick way of doing that. I'm just gonna hit Command A to highlight all the effects, Command G to group them together, and then just turning the group off. Okay, wowzers. Now, in addition to manually chopping up the audio, I've done a couple other things to create these glitches, but before we check that out, I'm gonna just go ahead and drag out this original piece of audio that I've chopped up, bring up the volume so you guys can hear it. Okay. It's a nice, pretty glitched out lead, but once again, we want a little bit more movement, so that's why I decided to chop it like crazy over here. I've done a couple things to kind of smooth out these chops. So for example, I've used fades a lot to sort of smooth the chops out, make them not super abrasive, and I'm just doing that by clicking and dragging these little black boxes over on the upper left corner of each clip here. And I've done a number of other things to sort of create the glitching effect. So for example, if I just stretch out this one little chop here, you can create even more glitches just by creating a warp marker right at the beginning of your clip, another warp marker immediately after it, and just stretching that all the way out. Okay, and it creates sort of a glitchy chop effect. Oh, wowzers. You can actually get different glitches just based on the different warping algorithms you're using. So for example, right now I'm on beats. If I switch over to tones, it creates a kind of a different effect depending on what we set the grain size to. Could also go to texture and just mess with the grain size and the flux. Oh, Jesus, okay. And if you want, you could try playing with repitch. It's kind of useless, complex, not really glitchy enough, complex flow, not even really that useful here either. So I would say beats, tones, and texture are a great way of creating some extra glitch to your leads. Okay, wowzers. I've also tried pitching some of these glitches up and down. So for example, I can take just one small little slice here and pitch it up an octave. Or pitch one down 2 octaves if I want. And finally, to create a little bit more movement, I've automated the panning so that each glitch is panned hard left and right to create a sort of crazy bouncing around the walls effect, sort of like Derek when he takes a few too many Adderalls, okay? And once again, I just bounced that out to audio, and on the audio track, you can see I just have a little bit more multiband compression, the Pro L2, sidechain, EQ, and that's about it. Oh, wowzers. Okay, building tension here. Okay, starting to get a little sweaty. I'm really excited for this sound sausage to come in. Let's see what that sounds like. Whew, oh boy, here it comes. Okay, wowzers, let's go ahead and solo out this Lauren lead here. Now, of course, this bears no resemblance to the famous producer Lauren, who I have absolutely no inspiration from. Now, check it out. I have a couple things going on with this track, starting with this sidechain compressor here. Now, if we look closely, it turns out this sidechain is actually haunted. I'm getting the audio from the ghost of Uncle Joe, and we just can't let that happen. Anybody who knows anything about sidechaining always knows that we have to get the compression input from our kick drum. So let's go ahead and open up the sidechain here. I'm gonna get the audio from my big booty kick. Oh boy, here it is. And just turn off the original. Go ahead and turn up the ratio on this new one to make it as sensitive as possible. Take a listen. Okay, now we're definitely getting that pumping effect, but it's sounding not quite the same as when we were hearing it from Uncle Joe. So let me go ahead and turn off this new compressor, turn on the original. You can see that from the ghost of Uncle Joe, it's a lot more subtle. And I kind of prefer that effect. So maybe if I go back to this new compressor and maybe turn down the attack, turn down the release, just try to mimic this compressor as much as possible, maybe I'll get the same sound. So let's compare. Here's the big booty kick sidechain. And here's the original. Huh, still way more subtle and clean. Now, I just don't get it. Maybe the problem is with my big booty kick. Maybe that booty is just too big. So let's go over to my drums, check out my kick, take a listen. Okay, look at that booty pumping away. Now, I like those curves, but okay, so here's the thing. I just want to measure just how big my booty is. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this kick right here. And if we look over at the bottom, you can see that the duration of this kick is a little over 200 milliseconds. Now that's problematic if we want to get a super tight sidechain sound, because if we go back to our Lauren lead here, and if we're getting the sidechain input from our kick, that means this ducking effect is going to go on for at least 200 milliseconds plus whatever we set the release time to. Now I can try to make it shorter, more subtle by turning down the release, but then I get this disgusting ass distortion. So for this reason, the ghost of Uncle Joe is actually quite useful. If you just set a sidechain input with a sound that's, really, really quick, like this annoying click sound, and just leave it muted, it actually serves as a much cleaner input for your sidechain because you can much more accurately control how long the ducking effect can go on for. Say if I put the release all the way down, there's no ducking, and if I turn it up, I can really dial it in. Okay, so I think we learned our lesson. Thank you, Uncle Joe. I'm going to get the audio from you again. So there you are. And let's bring it down. Oh, now one last thing I'm still noticing here is that I'm getting somewhat of a click sound every time this sidechain triggers. And if I hear the original, it's still sounding a lot cleaner. So I just don't get it. What's the difference here? Well, the key lies in this small little upgrade button over on the upper right corner of this compressor. That's right, this compressor is actually from Uncle Joe's heyday. This is from an older version of Live before the engineers thought it was a good idea to add that click every single time the compressor triggers. Thank you, Ableton. So my advice, don't use the brand new spanking compressor in Ableton to create the sidechain. Use the old one instead. And I've linked that in the video description below. Okay, last but not least, we do have our Lauren lead, so I'm going to go ahead once again, bring in the original here. Oh boy, kind of scared for this one. I remember having way too many effects. Here we go. Okay, here we go. All right, not too bad. Once again, I'm going to start by turning every single effect off here. Probably by the time I get to this effects chain, Derek's already going to be in college. Oh boy. Okay, almost there. Okay, looks like that was everything. Once again, I'm going to start with wavetable here, and it looks like I'm using two oscillators here. Both of them seem to be tuned to sawtooth waves. Turn up the volume here. Looks like one's up an octave, one's down. Got two layers there. And just a little bit of a low pass to, Jesus Christ, take out some of that high end. Very long release time, so it trails out nice and smooth. I'm also using unison here on the noise setting to create sort of a, oh, Jesus, wide wampus here. Without unison, it kind of sounds a little flaccid and thin, like a mosquito in my brain. So let's put it back to noise here, and I'm also, just to get that lo-fi retro synthwave effect, mapping the LFO1 to modulate the pitch. So if I take a look-see here, just a little bit of a wiggle there, just to make sure that this is lo-fi enough to get on chill hop. Okay, so just a smidgen of that. Obviously, we want to dirty up this sound, so I'm going to start with the overdrive here. You can use whatever distortion algorithm you want. Just here to crank up the lower mids here with this filter. Oh, Jesus. And of course, because, why not? I'm just using the Valhalla shimmer again, just like I do on every track. Oh boy, better get sponsored. Okay, that's, giving some nice space there, but let's go ahead and crunch it up some more. This time I'm using the amp. Wowzers. Kind of creating a harsh guitar-y effect, so just to tame some of that harshness, I'm also using the cabinet audio effect. And basically what cabinet does is emulate a microphone in a space. So for example, in Uncle Joe's basement. You can use different kinds of mics. You can use mono, dual, change the speaker kind. It's very nice. After that, I'm using a little bit of Redux, just some little bit crushing. Oh, Jesus! Once again, using that tape for some even more lo-fi flavor. I'm gonna turn down the volume a bit here. And finally, just a little bit of EQ to tame the mid-range. And why not? Let's keep it going. I'm gonna dirty up the sound some more with some erosion. Creates a nice bit of white noise there. Oh. Okay, and finally some OTT to just, squeeze it all together. And just to totally invalidate all 3 or 4 of the last effects that I've added, let's just squash the shit out of it once more with this Camel Crusher here. Oh, Jesus. Whew. And that's how I made this Lorne lead. Wowzers. Okay, so check it. You can download the old version of the live compressor as well as check out the full song by clicking on the links in the video description. And if you enjoyed this video, consider pre-ordering the album on my Bandcamp or just giving me a quick follow on my Spotify. I'm Underbelly. Have a great